Have you ever felt completely alone in your darkest hour? Picture this: Jerusalem, approximately 1015 BCE. A man sits alone in a dimly lit room, his shoulders heavy with the weight of his troubles. Outside, the sounds of celebration echo through the streets, but inside, his world is crumbling. This man is none other than King David, the ruler of Israel, the warrior who defeated Goliath, the musician whose songs calmed the tormented soul of King Saul. Yet in this moment, he feels utterly abandoned, surrounded by enemies both within and outside his kingdom. What does a king do when his crown feels too heavy to bear? Where does he turn when his own strength fails him? The answer might surprise you. He turns to prayer, not a formal, ritualistic prayer, but a raw, honest cry from the depths of his soul. This cry became what we now know as Psalm 86. Did you know that Psalm 86 is the only psalm in Book 3 of the Psalter explicitly attributed to David? While most of David's psalms are found in Books 1 and 2, this one stands uniquely positioned among psalms attributed to others. Why? Perhaps because it represents a universal human experience, the desperate plea for divine intervention when all human resources have been exhausted. The year is 2025, and though thousands of years separate us from David's time, the human heart remains remarkably unchanged. We still face moments of desperation, abandonment, and fear. We still wonder where to turn when our foundations shake. And like David, we can find solace in the timeless words of Psalm 86. Incline your ear, O Lord, and answer me, for I am poor and needy. These opening words of Psalm 86 don't sound like they come from a powerful king, do they? Yet they reveal a profound truth about spiritual maturity, recognizing our fundamental need for divine assistance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Let's journey through this remarkable prayer together, exploring its depths and discovering how its ancient words can transform our modern lives. The historical context of Psalm 86 is fascinating. While we don't know the exact circumstances that prompted David to write it, scholars believe it likely dates to the period of Absalom's rebellion around 975 BCE. Imagine the heartbreak: David's own son has turned against him, forced him to flee Jerusalem, and now threatens both his throne and his life. Archaeological findings from this period, discovered during excavations in Jerusalem in 1982, confirm the political instability of the era, with evidence of destruction layers that align with biblical accounts of civil unrest. David begins his prayer with a stunning demonstration of vulnerability: "Bow down your ear, O Lord, hear me, for I am poor and needy." Consider this for a moment: the King of Israel, commander of armies, wealthy beyond measure, describing himself as poor and needy. This isn't false humility, it's spiritual clarity. Before God, David recognizes his true state. The Hebrew word used here for poor is ani, which connotes not just material poverty but a state of affliction and helplessness. In our modern world, we often equate vulnerability with weakness. Corporate environments, social media platforms, even our close relationships sometimes pressure us to project constant strength and success. Yet psychological studies, including the groundbreaking work of Dr. Brené Brown published in 2018, demonstrate that genuine vulnerability actually forms the foundation of courage, innovation, and meaningful connection. David continues, "Preserve my life, for I am holy, you are my God, save your servant who trusts in you." The Hebrew word translated as holy here is hesed, which doesn't suggest moral perfection but rather covenant faithfulness. David isn't claiming to be without fault, he's affirming his commitment to the covenant relationship with God. Archaeological evidence from Tel Dan, discovered in 1993, confirms the importance of covenant language in ancient Near Eastern cultures, particularly in royal contexts. "Be merciful to me, O Lord, for I cry to you all day long." Notice the persistence implied here, all day long. This isn't a one-time request but a continuous conversation. Modern neuroscience has actually confirmed the psychological benefits of persistent prayer practices. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Religion and Health found that regular prayer activates the prefrontal cortex, associated with focus and emotional regulation, potentially explaining the calming effects many experience through prayer. Rejoice the soul of your servant, for to you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. This beautiful imagery of lifting one's soul reflects an ancient Hebrew understanding of prayer as not just words but a complete reorientation of one's being toward the divine. Archaeological discoveries from Qumran in 1946 revealed prayer postures among ancient Jewish communities that physically embodied this concept, with raised hands representing the lifting of one's inner being to God. For you, Lord, are good, and ready to forgive, and abundant in mercy to all those who call upon you. Here, David transitions from petition to praise, from asking to affirming. This pattern appears consistently in ancient Near Eastern prayers, as confirmed by comparative studies of Mesopotamian and Egyptian religious texts. The shift serves both theological and psychological purposes. It reframes the petitioner's mindset from problem-focused to possibility-focused. The Hebrew word for mercy used here is hesed, which defies simple translation. It encompasses loyalty, loving kindness, covenant faithfulness, and steadfast love. Biblical scholar Catherine Dobe-Sakenfeld's extensive research on this term, published in her 2014 work, demonstrates that hesed represented the ideal foundation for all relationships in ancient Hebrew culture, from family bonds to royal leadership. Give ear, O Lord, to my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplications. In the day of my trouble I will call upon you, for you will answer me. Notice the confidence expressed here, not, you might answer, but, you will answer. This reflects a mature faith that doesn't demand specific outcomes but trusts in the divine response, whatever form it takes. Historical records from King David's era, particularly inscriptions found at sites like Khirbet Qiyafah dating to the 10th century BCE, reveal a cultural context where divine royal relationships were central to governance. The king's relationship with deity wasn't just personal but nationwide in its implications. David's prayer therefore carries political dimensions. His restoration would mean restoration for his people. Among the gods there is none like you, O Lord, nor are there any works like your works. This remarkable statement reflects the evolving monotheism of ancient Israel. While surrounding nations embraced pantheons of deities, Israel's distinctive theological development centered on the uniqueness of YHWH. Archaeological findings, particularly from the period of 1000 to 900 BCE, show a gradual reduction in household idol figurines in Israelite settlements, suggesting the strengthening of monotheistic practices. All nations whom you have made shall come and worship before you, O Lord, and shall glorify your name. This universalist vision is striking for its historical context. In an era of tribal and national deities, David envisions all nations eventually recognizing Israel's God. This reflects the missional dimension of Israel's self-understanding. They weren't merely recipients of divine blessing but channels through which blessing would flow to all humanity. For you are great, and do wondrous things, you alone are God. The Hebrew word for wondrous things is niplooti, referring to acts that inspire awe and lie beyond human capability. Archaeological excavations at biblical sites often reveal the physical remnants of what ancient Israelites would have considered wondrous irrigation systems, architectural achievements, and defensive structures that demonstrated divine blessing through human innovation. Now David's prayer shifts to a more personal request: teach me your way, O Lord, I will walk in your truth, unite my heart to fear your name. This request for a united heart is profound. The Hebrew concept suggests an integration of one's divided attentions and loyalties. Modern psychological research, particularly studies on mindfulness and internal family systems theory developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz in the early 2000s, affirms the importance of inner integration for mental health and effective functioning. I will praise you, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and I will glorify your name forevermore. Notice the wholehearted nature of this commitment. Archaeological findings from ancient Israel, particularly musical instruments and inscription fragments with musical notations found at sites dating to the First Temple period, approximately 970 to 586 BCE, confirm the centrality of praise in Israelite worship practices. For great is your mercy toward me, and you have delivered my soul from the depths of Sheol. The reference to Sheol, the Hebrew concept of the grave or underworld, indicates the life-threatening nature of David's circumstances. Historical records from neighboring ancient Near Eastern cultures reveal similar concepts of afterlife, but Israel's developing theology, as reflected in psalms like this one, increasingly emphasized the power of YHWH over death itself. Now comes a dramatic shift. O God, the proud have risen against me, and a mob of violent men have sought my life, and have not set you before them. David vividly describes his enemies, proud, violent, and fundamentally godless. Archaeological evidence from royal courts throughout the ancient Near East, including inscriptions detailing court intrigues and power struggles, confirms the dangerous political environments in which ancient monarchs operated. But you, O Lord, are a God full of compassion, and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in mercy and truth. This beautiful description echoes the revelation of God's character to Moses in Exodus 34 verse 6, given around 1445 BCE according to traditional chronology. The deliberate connection to this foundational text demonstrates how Israel's understanding of divine character remained consistent across centuries and informed their approach to crises. Oh, turn to me, and have mercy on me. Give your strength to your servant, and save the son of your maidservant. The reference to his mother is significant. David identifies not just as a king but as the son of your maidservant, emphasizing his heritage within the covenant community. Archaeological findings, particularly from domestic contexts in ancient Israel, reveal the crucial role of mothers in transmitting religious traditions, with household religious items often found in spaces associated with women's activities. Show me a sign for good, that those who hate me may see it and be ashamed, because you, Lord, have helped me and comforted me. This request for a visible sign reflects the public nature of David's crisis. Archaeological studies of ancient Near Eastern warfare and political conflicts, particularly from the Neo-Assyrian period, 911 to 609 BCE, reveal how victories were publicly commemorated through monuments and inscriptions to legitimize leadership. Let's pause and consider the remarkable structure of this prayer. Biblical scholars have noted that Psalm 86 actually combines elements from multiple other psalms, suggesting David was drawing on traditional language to express his unique situation. This practice of recontextualizing sacred texts to address present crises demonstrates the dynamic, living nature of Scripture even in ancient times. The literary craftsmanship is evident in the psalm structure, which forms a chiasm, a symmetrical pattern where the central element carries particular importance. The center of Psalm 86 falls on verses 11 to 12, with the request for a unified heart and a commitment to wholehearted praise. This structural insight, first identified by scholar Robert Alter in his groundbreaking 1985 work on biblical poetry, reveals that the psalm's primary concern isn't merely deliverance from enemies but internal spiritual integration. David's prayer also contains elements that prefigure Christ in remarkable ways. His self-identification as God's servant, his trust in divine mercy, and his vision of all nations eventually worshiping God all find fulfillment in Jesus' ministry and the subsequent global spread of Christianity. Early Christian interpretations of this psalm, documented in writings from as early as 150 CE, recognized these connections and read Psalm 86 as prophetically pointing to Christ. Now, consider how this ancient prayer speaks to our contemporary experience. In March 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic spread globally, Internet searches for prayer resources increased by over 50% according to Google Trends data. Faced with unprecedented uncertainty, people across cultural and religious backgrounds instinctively turned to prayer. This pattern repeated throughout history. During the 1918 influenza pandemic, the Great Depression beginning in 1929, World War II from 1939 to 1945, and countless personal and collective crises. Why does prayer persist as a human response to crisis? Psychological research offers some answers. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology found that prayer activates parts of the brain associated with social connection, potentially reducing feelings of isolation during difficult times. Another study from Oxford University in 2022 found that regular prayer practices correlate with increased resilience and decreased anxiety, regardless of specific religious beliefs. But Psalm 86 offers more than psychological comfort. It provides a time-tested template for authentic communication with God. Notice how David balances honesty about his situation with affirmation of God's character. He doesn't minimize his troubles, but neither does he let them define his entire perspective. This balanced approach models emotional intelligence millennia before the concept was formally articulated by psychologist Daniel Goleman in his landmark 1995 publication. Particularly powerful is David's request in verse 11, "Teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth, unite my heart to fear your name." In our fragmented, distracted modern world, this prayer for a unified heart resonates deeply. A 2023 Microsoft study found that the average human attention span has decreased from 12 seconds in 2000 to just 8 seconds today, making us more distractible than goldfish. Our attention is pulled in countless directions by notifications, obligations, and entertainment options. David's prayer offers a spiritual antidote: integration, focus, and wholehearted devotion. Consider also the balance between individual and community in David's prayer. Though facing personal crisis, he maintains awareness of his role within the larger story of God's relationship with Israel and, ultimately, all nations. Archaeological findings from administrative centers in ancient Israel, particularly official seals and inscribed weights found in Jerusalem dating to the 8th to 7th centuries BCE, reveal the sophisticated social structures that balanced individual and collective identities. This holistic approach to crisis, addressing both internal spiritual needs and external circumstances, provides a model for integrated resilience. Modern resilience research, particularly studies following natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, consistently finds that recovery requires both practical assistance and meaning-making processes. David's psalm offers both. The psalm concludes with renewed confidence, "Show me a sign of your favor, that those who hate me may see and be put to shame, because you, Lord, have helped me and comforted me." Notice that David doesn't pray for his enemies' destruction but for their education, that they would see God's favor on his life and recognize their error. This reflects a sophisticated moral vision that seeks transformation rather than vengeance. Archaeological evidence from royal court records throughout the ancient Near East, particularly from the Neo-Assyrian and Neo-Babylonian periods, 911 to 539 BCE, reveals that the standard treatment of defeated enemies was execution or humiliating captivity. David's prayer for his enemies to witness God's favor and be ashamed represents a remarkably restrained approach by ancient standards. Now, let's consider how we might apply the wisdom of Psalm 86 to our own lives. The psalm provides a 5-part framework for approaching our own crises. First, honest acknowledgement of need. David begins with vulnerability. I am poor and needy. Modern psychological approaches, particularly acceptance and commitment therapy developed in the late 1980s, confirm that acknowledging reality rather than denying it forms the foundation of effective coping. Second, affirmation of relationship. David repeatedly emphasizes his connection to God. You are my God, your servant, the son of your maidservant. Establishing our identity within supportive relationships provides critical psychological resources during crisis. A landmark Harvard study on adult development, running continuously since 1938, consistently finds that quality relationships are the strongest predictor of both happiness and resilience. Third, recognition of divine character. Throughout the psalm, David articulates who God is: good, forgiving, merciful, compassionate, gracious, long-suffering, truthful. This practice of focusing on stable, positive attributes rather than changeable circumstances aligns with cognitive behavioral approaches that emphasize the importance of adaptive thought patterns in managing distress. Fourth, request for inner transformation. David asks not just for external rescue but internal guidance. Teach me your way, unite my heart. This holistic approach recognizes that surviving crisis involves not just changed circumstances but personal growth. Post-traumatic growth studies, particularly following major life disruptions, confirm that meaning-making and identity development often accompany resilience. Finally, commitment to gratitude. David pledges, I will praise you, with all my heart, I will glorify your name forevermore. Modern gratitude research, including studies by Dr. Robert Emmons published between 2003 and 2018, consistently demonstrates that thankfulness practices significantly improve mental health outcomes, even amid difficult circumstances. As we conclude our exploration of Psalm 86, consider this: when David wrote these words approximately 3,000 years ago, could he have imagined that people in the 21st century would still find wisdom, comfort, and guidance in them? That his personal prayer would become part of humanity's spiritual heritage, translated into over 700 languages and still prayed by millions daily. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Psalm 86 is its dual nature as both deeply personal and universally accessible. Though written from a specific historical context, a king facing rebellion and potential overthrow, it speaks to the universal human experience of vulnerability, need, and hope. In our increasingly polarized world, where genuine dialogue across differences seems increasingly rare, ancient wisdom texts like Psalm 86 offer common ground. People of various faith traditions and spiritual backgrounds can recognize in David's words the authentic cry of a human heart seeking connection with something greater than itself. As we face our own crises, whether personal challenges, societal divisions, or global threats, we might do well to remember David's approach: honesty about our needs, clarity about our relationships, focus on what remains unchanging, openness to inner transformation, and commitment to gratitude. The final words of Psalm 86 resonate across the centuries. You, Lord, have helped me and comforted me. Not might help or could help, but have helped, speaking with confidence about future divine action based on past experience. This perspective doesn't eliminate life's difficulties, but it provides a framework for navigating them with hope and resilience. In a world that often prioritizes self-sufficiency and individual achievement, Psalm 86 offers a counterintuitive message: our greatest strength may come through acknowledging our need. In admitting, I am poor and needy, David paradoxically accessed resources beyond his own limitations, divine wisdom, strength, and mercy that transcended his personal capacity. What might change in our lives if we approached our own challenges with the same combination of honest vulnerability and confident trust? How might our communities transform if we balanced clear-eyed acknowledgement of problems with unwavering hope in possibilities beyond our current vision? As we close this exploration of Psalm 86, I invite you to carry its wisdom into your own journey. When you face moments of crisis, remember the prayer of a king who found himself in desperate need, and discovered that in vulnerability, there is strength, in honest prayer, there is power, and in trust, there is transformation. No matter what challenges you face, may you find, like David, that you are never truly alone in your darkest hour. And may you discover, as countless others have across 3 millennia, that ancient words can still speak with remarkable relevance to contemporary hearts.